And we're back. What took me so long? Why did I wait a week to come back? Because the city council doesn't want to have any meetings. And this Parks and Rec committee meeting we're about to have, they didn't. They did it on Thursday, and they didn't have it live because they decided they wanted to have it at an actual park. And if you remember last time I talked about this, I said it was a bad idea. And this was a clear example why. Now you have no transparency. What's going on with government? You wait, Jared, you scum. And I had to wait almost 24 hours for the video to come out, and I was a little busy yesterday, so here I am doing it today. But this was a clear example of why I said just have everything at the city county building. And I'm going to talk about it again in a little bit because I want to tell you about how long it takes for the city councilors to get to Holiday Park, which will be the next meeting, but how long it takes for them to get to the city council meeting. Mostly because there are three city council members that are not at this meeting, and I got a pretty good feeling why. But let's get to it.
Good evening, everybody. For clarification, when counselors are speaking, Kim or Caroline, they need to press this button and hold it down when you're speaking through the mic.
It's live.
I think they're on.
They're live.
Oh, they're just on. They're live.
Okay, never mind. Green light means they are on.
Yep.
All right.
No whispering.
Thank you, everyone,
shrink
and
me a little
welcome to tonight's Parks Committee meeting. I am Chair Jared Evans, and I'm going to start with introductions. First, my colleague to my left, and then we'll go to my colleagues to the right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Bain, representing District 21 on the southwest side.
Tell how bad the
Thank
audio
you, Mr.
is
Chairman.
too.
Jesse Brown, representing District 13 on the near east side.
Bobblehead.
Brianne Delaney, District 2, North Side.
Good evening, Chairman. Krista Carlino, District 11, West Side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Jessica McCormick, District 16, West Side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dan Boots, District 3, Washington, Lawrence Townships.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, everyone, for being here. This is a part of the plan this year and for years
Awful plan.
preceding as chair of the committee to pull us to our parks, bring people to our facilities, let us see the different parks around the city of Indianapolis.
Can you see the park? Can you see the park? No, they're in a building. If you want to go to a park, go to a park.
Director Boyd,
dumb.
thank you so much for being here, and I think we'll get started and allow you to start your presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the newly renovated Cranert Family Center. If you haven't been here yet, it's great to see you, and I hope you get to go later. So on Monday, we broke ground on the first Lilly Endowment project of 2024 at Indianapolis World Sports Park with Mayor Hogsett and Councilor McCormick. This project will build a new concession and restroom facility that will better serve the teams and the leagues that utilize this park, and it also includes a paving of the gravel parking lot near the sports fields. We're looking forward to many more of those project kickoffs all across the city this coming year.
$5.1 million. That's how much the endowment or however much that's costing, and the endowment's going to that. Can you believe that? You have a toilet and like a taco stand that's costing it $5.1 million. That's crazy. To me, that's money laundering. Clear and simple.
Another exciting update is that we announced this week the 19 of our park facilities now have free public Wi-Fi, with 10 more locations scheduled for installation by the end of the summer. With this initiative, a completed 98% of our facilities will offer free public Wi-Fi. The project is funded by $500,000 from the American Rescue Plan and will also improve internet speeds for our park staff, meaning that they can better serve our residents.
They should already be having Wi-Fi on there. Now you just need more Wi-Fi. Hey, you know what? I'm glad that those crackheads with the Obama phones can check out YouTube while they're smoking some crack. Thank you, taxpayers.
I also want to provide a quick update on the pilot carbon credit program that I provided to the Environmental Sustainability Committee last week. So in December last year, the Park Board provided approval for Indy Parks to submit an application to enter into a contract with City Forest Credits to quantify and certify carbon credits for existing forests in Eagle Creek Park. We're currently in the process of finalizing our contract terms, and once the contract is executed, we'll enter into the design phase of the project, where we're looking at about 490 acres and seeing which of those really will get certified for the project. The brokering of the carbon credits will be a later phase, and then private entities, when this happens, can purchase carbon credits, and those funds would go back into supporting our forests and the management and doing things like controlling invasive plants and increasing biodiversity and forest health.
Wait a minute, biodiversity, but you're wanting to get rid of invasive plants. Huh? So what she's saying is what we've always talked about, is that this is just a funding mechanism because they don't have enough money to do some bush trimming or some weed pulling or whatever, or maybe they want to give the employees a raise. So this is just another scam, another scheme, and we can see this all the way through. It's all bullshit.
Our staff does a great job all across the city every day. And on Tuesday, I had the opportunity to learn and collaborate with them at our spring staff conference that we held right here at Krannert Park. We had some great speakers and programs while also providing staff with more opportunities to share their ideas and ask questions. This is really the staff conferences that we do, and the other professional development opportunities are an investment in our staff, which really is an investment in our communities. Our summer day camps still have spots available across the city. From arts and environmental education to sports and bike camps, we have offerings for every kid to enjoy. We also have scholarships available to help families cover the cost of these camps. You've got some flyers in front of you, and those flyers have some information. And also for the flyer right here, that's got summer day camp scholarships. There's a QR code that can be scanned, and then folks can submit scholarship applications online. We also take them in hard copy as well.
You can check that QR code with that taxpayer-funded Wi-Fi while you're at it.
Next slide, okay. We are now, of course, still hiring for summer jobs across the city, and many of these positions are still eligible for the $500 sign-on bonus that runs through April 5th. A $250 bonus will be available after that until May 5th. We also have referral bonuses available for summer staff, and you can find more information at parks.ne.gov/summerjobs. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our construction administrator, Corey Kranick, to provide an overview of our 2024 capital improvement plan.
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Kranick. I'm the construction administrator for Indy Parks. I'm one of a 7-person planning and construction team. So we oversee long-term planning, oversee design of specific projects. Then we bid those out and oversee the construction contractors who go out and build those jobs. Today I'll be talking about the capital improvement program, what we call the CIP. It's a little over $5.8 million budget that we get every year to do capital projects. That covers design costs as well as construction costs. Just to give you sort of...
Oh, I forgot to mention, too, to design that little soda bar was $100,000 just for the design. Crazy to me.
Rough idea of most of our projects usually fall between $700,000 to several million, depending on if it's just replacing a playground, if we're doing splash pad, new shelters, walkways, that drives the cost up. Obviously with our growing number of parks, 40 pools and splash pads, we have over 50 facilities. We do our best to try and maximize that budget to try and meet the needs of the parks. I'm going to be focusing on the plan for 2024, but just a quick highlight of some of the projects we did in 2023. We replaced the Andrew Ramsey splash pad with a new splash pad. There's a new football field at Stanley Strader Park that's under construction. We did a lot of security and lighting improvements, particularly around our family centers, as well as supporting some of the large...
Hold on there, buddy. It's a splash pad. Okay, so we keep talking about climate change and we need the carbon credits, but we're just literally dumping water away. I mean, this just, the whole thing is just a walking hypocrisy. It doesn't really make, everybody out there who's in YouTube land, help me out here. Does that make any sense to you? If it does, explain it to me in the comment section.
Ongoing projects through Circle City Forward, ARPA, and Lilly. So one issue we have across the city, especially at our splash parks, is buildup of calcium. We have that hard Indiana water. It does a number. So we have a contractor that can come strip those down, put a clear coat on them. So we're going to attack all the splash pads, a couple of pool slides. You can see the picture on the left is supposed to be green. It looks brown from how much buildup's on it. That's Carson Park. So it'll give a fresh look. You can see sort of a before and after there. Another common project we have is PVC pool liners. So a lot of our older pools, we put liners in them, and they basically keep the pools watertight. After a certain amount of time, they do fail. So both Martin Luther King and Rhodius Parks pool liners have been patched several times in the last few years. It's just met the end of their life. So we bid those out early to try and or to make sure that they're ready for the upcoming pool season. The entryways to our family centers obviously are important. They greet our guests. They are important for accessibility reasons. So we're going to go around and upgrade a few doors, adding ADA operators, addressing, like, for example, the Southeast Way needs a new ramp, stairs, and a doorway at various facilities.
I mean,
Stairs and a doorway.
to be fair, I could see that, man. That is one hell of a turn to try and get someone in a wheelchair through there. That's not cool at all. I actually agree. That needs to be redone.
At various facilities. Thatcher Park Center, Aquatic Center, has been on our radar for a few years as well. We had started a study last year, so we have a design team looking at some structural concerns, looking at the heating, air conditioning systems, the building envelope, which is windows, roof, water tightness, as well as accessibility. So they're doing a study now. We'll get the results of that study, and then we intend to, so there's money in the budget to enter into the design phase to make those repairs and hopefully get into like a phase 1 construction this year. There's several ongoing erosion issues at a couple parks. So one is at Garfield Park along Bean Creek, and then one's at Broad Ripple along the river. So we have some funds in there to address the immediate issue, as well as engineering costs to try and figure out what's causing this and fix sort of the root issue yet this year.
It's nature, man. Let it happen.
There's several, so we have a line item for HVAC systems that potentially can go out as the year goes on. So also just trying to modernize our systems, adding in controls, adding in more efficient units across all our facilities, just trying to modernize our mechanical systems. The Eagle Creek Beach rental facility needs a new sewer line, so that's another project we're going to accomplish in 2020.
To be fair, like, all these buildings are really old, and when you don't maintain them consistently, this is what'll happen. Everything it'll for have you ever seen an HVAC unit get set on fire? It's pretty wild. But this is just bad leadership overall. Whoever's leading the whole, I don't know if it's Boyd, who's the director of the parks department. This is bad leadership on Hogsett and the money, and just voicing out of like these are major concerns. But let's just break it down to what a Parks and Rec should be. You got a playground, as you can see over here, and you have grass. Good enough for me. Why why do you have to invest in a splash pad? Maybe a pool, but overall, like, it should be as basic as it gets for a Parks and Rec area. Like, it's just there for a green space. You can have some soccer, you can have football or whatever. And I don't know, all of these things are just overcomplicating it, and it just seems like a giant money laundering pit.
Forward.
Let's pay $5.1 million. I mean, not us, the endowment, but can you imagine if we had to pay that? The endowment's like, I think, $1 billion. It's something wild.
There's a few playgrounds that we have money in the budget. So Christina Oaks Park on the west side along Washington Street is getting a new playground. We actually vacated the road that kind of cut through the center of the park. So now that road won't be a safety issue for folks in the park. So there'll be new parking lot, playground, shelter. Also doing a playground replacement at Murray Evans Park.
$2 billion. My bad.
So from a planning perspective, there's a few projects that we have funds in the budget for. So Decatur Park, which is a newly acquired property that has a building on it, looking at how to program that, how to best use the facility. So we'd hire an architect to go in and do that planning exercise, as well as designing renovations so that we can activate that building, as well as some master plans for Jackson Bell's Run Park and Fox Hill Manor. There's also a few budget items that will help supplement those ongoing large programs like
The ARPA playground.
and, Circle City Forward. Many times when we do a new capital project, we always look at the surrounding trees, make sure there's no problematic, safety hazards from limbs or a dead tree. So there's some funds in there to support that, as well as our landscaping beautification efforts that are ongoing.
You know, this is beautiful right here. Exactly what I'm trying to say. The parks area should look like a rest stop. Like you have a basic building where you can poo and pee. You have a lot of green space and a playground. And then you make sure you maintain the trees so no branches falls down and kills a kid. But it really shouldn't be any more complicated than that. It's really overdone.
And then we also have several programs that are outside of the CIP budget. So I'd like to just give a quick update on those. So the Circle City Forward initiative, all of those projects have now been into construction. Several of them are complete. So the Riverside Promenade, obviously the Cranor Park Family Center, we're sitting in now, are both done and open. Frederick Douglass Family Center, we're hoping to wrap up construction end of the month and start moving in furniture, getting staff moved in, acclimated to the facility, and hoping to open in May. We have the Grassy Creek Grassy Creek Nature Center on the east side. That's well underway. The building's up, starting on the playground. That's scheduled to be done end of September. And then the Riverside Adventure Park has started construction. That'll be under construction this whole year with an opening early next year. We've been working on replacing 21 playgrounds through the American Rescue Plan Act funding. All of the designs are complete. All the public meetings have been done. We've started construction on almost all of them. There'll be two have actually been fully done, and then we'll have like phase completions throughout this summer. Finally, the Lilly Endowment Grant. Can't go through all those projects because there's a lot in there, but just generally, a couple of those projects have been under construction, and the bulk of them are in the design phase. Our planning team has done a lot of public meetings. We've been doing a lot of design work. So right now they're going to take the public comments and incorporate those into the design so they can move forward with final design plans.
And that's all we're doing.
Thank you. Quick question before we open it up for questions and comments. I noticed when walking into Cranor, because we redid this parking lot as a part of that project, some of the pavement looks like it's already coming up, scraped up. Do we have someone who's reviewing and staying on top of it? I don't know if that's something we've done or if that is maybe not quality work.
No, that's something my team does. Anytime we do a project, we have a warranty period, so that's something that the contractor definitely knows about. They're just waiting for the temperatures to rise so they can come back and redo it. But obviously, yeah, that's not acceptable, but that's something our team, we always follow up. We actually get warranty bonds at the end of our projects from contractors.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to know who the contractor is. I want to know. Listen, I want to know if it was an affirmative action contract hire. How's the DEI going?
Colleagues, anyone have any questions? Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple items. So employment for summer camp, or for summer jobs, what is the age, the lower age limit?
16 and up.
16 and up? Okay.
Do I even need to say anything?
So thank you for that. Just wanted to make sure
I
we knew
will.
that.
I will.
The Lilly money that we have planned for the next few years, is it go into the CIB annually as well? Is that Will that be in what we see in future years as well?
No, the annual amount for CIP that we get as a part of the general fund, we keep that separate.
Okay.
So the Lilly will be tracked in a different way. There may be some in terms of, just as Corey presented, if there's a budget shortfall, we may pull a little bit from CIP to support something to get it done, but for the most part, we're keeping them separate.
Okay, and then the last thing I had, I realized, I do love these one-page updates. They're fabulous. Could we get a county map with the dots of where the parks are and the distribution around the county? I know we've seen a graphic before. Could we get an updated one of those with some of the new parks that we haven't seen?
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going back to slide 4 for the carbon credit program update.
Sure.
That's something that I'm not too familiar with. Can you kind of just give a brief rundown of what that is? So is the city basically like selling off carbon credits from Eagle Creek?
So this is a pilot effort to see how this works with the city. There's sort of two ways you can do a carbon credit program. You can do it with existing forests as a sort of a preservation protocol, or you can do it with new tree plantings. About a year ago, we looked into the two different protocols, working with the Office of Sustainability, and figured out, well, we've got existing forests, so let's start there. And then there was also some preliminary work that was done at Eagle Creek, looking at forest tracts with city forest credits to see what would qualify. At that time, that study looked at only about 100 or so acres, and we're really looking at over 400 in this piece right here. So how it works is, with the registry, which is what City Forest Credits is, we go through a design phase where we look at different parcels, and the minimum size is 15 acres, but we've got 10 different parcels. And we'll see what of those parcels actually qualifies to be included. So if you've got a parcel that already has an easement on it, it doesn't qualify. It has to be unprotected, but also could be under the threat of development. So if there's a ravine that runs through, the area that's in the ravine doesn't count because no one can develop that. So as we look to actually quantify how many acres could be certified, that's this next process. What we'll learn is how many acres and then how many credits will be applied to those. Those credits can then be purchased by private entities. If we wanted to go with City Forest Credits as the broker, they have a national sort of reach in terms of brokerage. But what we'd really like to do is to keep it local so that companies like Lilly and Cummings can participate in this effort to support sustainability locally.
They don't give a shit. Let's be honest with ourselves. Cummins and Lilly and Allison Transmission does not give a damn about environment. All right, they're there to make money. And that's the truth. This kind of reminds me of like the adopt a median thing of like, oh, why don't you just find people then? Because it would just cut through all the bullshit. It's like, hey, I'm going to take a private plane for whatever. Oh, I have to be fined more because of the pollution that I'm putting out. But we already know where that's going to go to. Then cars and trucks will start getting fined for how much pollution they're putting out. But in reality, like the car manufacturer already has to pay that, and we're kind of having to pay that. It's like trickles down. But this whole thing reminds me of like the adopt a median thing. You find an empty median that needs to get work done or whatever, has to have grass trimmed, and then you just put your name on there. It's like this median is protected or maintained by X insurance company or whatever, and you could have the same thing for the Eagle Creek, right? You can buy a parcel, you can rent out the parcel, you can use it as an Airbnb. I mean, the whole thing is just so dumb. It doesn't make any sense at all. Parks and Rec just need to say, hey, we need more money, and this is the way we're going to do it. If we can just get an honest answer that way, we can just cut through the bullshit.
Okay, yeah, so that was going to be one of the questions I had is like, are these companies from other states coming in to buy carbon credits from Eagle Creek? But I would like to see that, targeted more locally. Um, is there any kind of incentive, I guess, for companies to do this other than like the altruistic, sustainability aspects of it? Because I know the city looked at and actually passed something where they were looking at, the building efficiencies and everything. Is that tied into this at all?
Well, I think the desire to sort of offset carbon is something that is growing. And actually, folks that visit Indy have reported that companies are looking for ways to offset the carbon that their folks are emitting when they're traveling to Indianapolis for conferences. And so this could be a way of, if we're looking for outside Indy credits to be sold, to do that. But I don't know that there is actually a dearth of companies that want to do this. I think in terms of having more awareness about climate effects, carbon sequestration, and the need for that, like that awareness is growing.
It's not. It's really not. Go plant some more trees then. I already talked this in the last video about you would basically need like their carbon sequestration, whatever they're using to absorb the carbon and then put it out clean. You would really only need 2 square miles to do the exact same thing. A forest, 2 square miles of a forest to do the exact same thing, less than 2 square miles. And everybody knows they don't give a damn. This is just like the whole recycling thing. You think poor people give a damn about recycling? No, they just need to pay their bills and put food on the table. The only people that care about recycling are rich people. That's literally it.
Councilor Boots?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate your presentation. A couple quick clarification questions. One, the CIP, that's funded generally from the county general fund, roughly 5.8 million. Then the last or second to last page of the presentation, the special funding projects, that's the Lilly money.
Correct.
That's roughly the $80 million, correct? Okay. And then second, a little disappointed to not see any of my parks on any of these screens. What can you tell me is being done at Somme Park and Skiles Test Nature Park?
Somme Park has a project through
It's on slide
Lilly.
22?
Yeah, so the Lilly program did pick up Somme Park. We have a project out there that's
I do see that
currently,
once. Yes.
sorry.
Oh,
that's currently,
Bootsy! Oh, you
soliciting,
fucked up,
design
pal.
proposals, and I believe they'll take the design proposals to our board and begin the design process, public meetings and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. And thank you,
You're
Councilman,
welcome.
for pointing that out. And then I would just urge, Somme was in my district. Under the new maps, I lost it. So now I only have Skiles Test Nature Park, which has been a neglected park, and I would hope it would get some attention. And I've got a wish list that I'd like to share with you to see if we can discuss, mostly just maintenance for that.
Why doesn't he do it? This is what annoys the crap out of me. And when I was running for council last year, what I already was doing, and I was going to do more if I had won, was go and do it yourself. If you see maintenance problems, don't call up DPW, don't call the Parks and Rec, just go and clean it up yourself instead of pointing the fingers. Like, these people annoy me so much. When I saw all the storm drains on Rockville were blocked off, when there was an actual tree growing out of the curb on Rockville, you know what I did? I went and cut it off. I went and cleaned the storm drains. That's what responsible community members do. Now, if you're a city council member, you have even more responsibility. And if you're not doing it, then just get out. All right. If you're not willing to invest the time and the energy into cleaning up your community instead of telling Parks and Rec, what are we going to do about it? Hey, I have some wish list items for maintenance. Go and do it yourself. We know you're loaded, Bootsy. We know you got the money to hire somebody to go mow the lawn or cut down some branches. These rich liberals, I'm telling you.
Sure.
They're so damn
Thank you.
annoying.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Director, we had previously talked about the needs of our current parks and recreation centers. I mean, the Lilly Grant, $80 million. I think we used some ARPA funds. What is that amount again? Just the needs to bring our facilities up to par?
So when we did our true needs study a little over a year ago and looked at all the facilities and all of our parks, the number that we came up with was $560 million.
$560 million
I think, Angie, you can correct me with that? Yeah. That's about right.
to bring our parks up to, I'm going to use the term par, but I'm sure there's some standards, better name there for that. So that's interesting.
What is
I like
that?
to always keep that in context
What?
when we're talking about it, because, $80 million was obviously a lot of money.
Yeah.
But to our citizens and our residents, the needs are so much in so many capacities, not just parks, but in so many capacities. So it's interesting to always keep that in
So each
context.
park needs like $50
any other
million
questions for
to
Director?
put it up to
Councilor
par.
Carlino?
Thank you so much, Chairman. I actually wanted to make a kudos comment in the CIP. We really, and kudos to the staff because we relied on the
Oh, damn, does Carlino have a tattoo? Oh, man. Has she always had that, or did that happen after she signed the papers?
parks facilities, our community centers, both as cooling centers in the sweltering temperatures of the summer, but also as warming centers when
Folks, look at that left
temperatures
hand.
get
What's missing
really
from it?
low. So having up to snuff HVAC systems are crucial for public safety. So thank you. That's
Something's
amazing to
missing,
see.
and then
But
something's
Councilman Kane
added.
actually made a comment about the Thriving Buildings initiative. Are any of these upgrades with HVAC, do they make the facilities more efficient, greener, or anything like that? Or are we just looking to keep them functioning at a good cost?
Definitely more efficient. This is a great example. This building used to run on a boiler system, so there was a big boiler in the back that had to pump water through the whole facility, so we've eliminated that. They're all brand new gas units, which are much more efficient, and they're also more reliable. So before, when the boiler went out, the whole building lost heat and cooling, so we're down now. If one goes out, we might just lose a room, and the rest of the facility can operate.
That's great.
We've also been working on, speak more to this, but the replacement of lights with LED lights.
Perfect.
So
Dude, that
That's
literally
great.
costs
Second
that literally costs nothing. Okay, it costs like hardly anything. You get it done in a day.
Question, Mr. Chairman, is how,
Doesn't cost that
going
much
back
money.
to, I think it was on the second or third slide, the Wi-Fi access update, how are citizens, or how is the public able to know where those locations are so that they can tap into those resources and maybe, knock out a meeting and a workout and pick up their kid at the same time? Is it just at the local parks facility, or is there something, like an infographic?
cracking?
We're always asking for those. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Like, does it already exist, or how can I help share with my constituents where they can tap into available Wi-Fi at our park?
Hey, folks. Hey, you don't have Wi-Fi? Don't you worry. The taxpayers got you covered. All you have to do is go to the park and just log in. No big deal. Hey, you're paying for it anyway. Why don't you go ahead and get a little bit of a taste?
I don't have an infographic yet, but that's a great idea. We just had the press release earlier this week, so.
Oh, is it that fresh? Okay.
Yeah, very fresh.
Well, keep me in the loop.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great job.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Director.
Bobblehead.
Just a couple quick things. Number one, I know there's some maintenance that's required. It can't all be these like big, beautiful new projects. And so you mentioned descaling, pool liner replacement. Any plan for how long a new liner is supposed to last? Like how often do these have to come back up in the budget?
Yeah, they kind of depends on the activity level, but I think we usually get 10 to 15, sometimes 20 years out of our pool liners. But yeah, it really depends on how much love they get and just natural elements.
Awesome. And then
Don't worry, Jesse. You won't be in office by then.
this is just kind of a thought for now. I don't need an answer because I don't have a solid question even, but something that came up after our last Parks Committee meeting, Councilor Carlino let me know, we've been discussing the recycling problems where drop-off recycling just is often contaminated, and some of it's bad behavior, some of it's just ignorance. But Councilor Carlino works with Recycle Force and Keys to Work, and they have plans near their facility to have a keys to work employee on site to man the recycling, and we hope to see better results from that, which I think is an awesome idea. In general, there was another conversation that happened kind of after the mics were all off last time. You know, I heard from a few older constituents that back in the day there were a lot more staff on site for playgrounds, just so parents could, you know, we don't want to encourage people to just leave their kids and
Are you
go
sure
away,
though?
but I wonder if we could start thinking about how we can have kind of aspirational programming beyond just where we have rec centers. Like in my district, Brookside Park has a lot of really great stuff, but then there's Spades Park that's just sitting empty most of the time. How can we get adults in the park so that it feels a little bit safer to be there? And again, don't need an answer today, but just something that's been on my mind. So
That's dope. So basically, he's saying, it's like, well, you know what? We need to have security at the recycling drop-off so people aren't throwing bloodstained mattresses in there or poop. Because, you know, that might, yeah, no kidding, that will help, dummy. And then what he's saying is like, well, what about having adults there? And I took that two ways. One is he wants to make sure that there is security in the park because there's so many crazy crackheads walking around, and you know the people that he wants to be a part of society. We're not going to get into that right now, and basically like having a daycare. Like all this stuff costs so much money, and a lot of the times they need to be qualified to even take, you know, if there is a daycare or security. Jesse as usual, damn commie.
Thank you. I don't have an answer for you today, but we will think about it. Thank you.
Even Boyd is done with him. Ah! Pipe down, Brown.
Counselor Delaney.
Director Boyd, on the Wi-Fi issue, I know, or I believe that Holiday Park has Wi-Fi, but not high-speed Wi-Fi. So
cares?
when you're sharing the infographic, could you also delineate, like maybe you don't want the
Look at this
public
guy.
on the regular Wi-Fi, but maybe you do. So I don't know if you could also share that there's like a difference in whether you can get onto both. And but I would be interested to know which parks have what, and kind of in a giant list or an infographic. So
Great. We'll get that for you.
thank you.
Hey, we want to get. Hey, go to this park if you want high-speed Wi-Fi. Go to this park. Hey, you're only going to get the low-level Wi-Fi.
Counselor McCormick.
I really
you.
can't stand
Just
liberals.
as a point of reference, I stated this the last time, and I'll say it again, when the floor is yours, it's yours.
Yes, thank you.
You don't have to ask for permission.
Thank you. Counselor, I want to go off of what Counselor Carlino mentioned about the green initiative. So with these new buildings, are we doing any LEED certifications or anything like that as far as the new buildings or refurbs? And if we are, I would love to be able to share that information, because I think as long as like we're talking about the sustainability and our
Nobody
environment and
cares.
everything else, I think showing that we are taking that initiative or we're doing that would be good. So if we're not looking, I would love to kind of have a conversation about ways we could implement a program.
Nobody
Yeah,
cares.
it's not something we have achieved with any of our recent projects. I know that sometimes it does incur a little bit more of a design cost, but it's something we could definitely look into. with our
I
design.
think there might be some some organizations that might be interested in partnering, and I'm not saying like discount or whatever, but like using some trial or some demo space too. So I think our parks would be a great space to demo some green technology or other advances that we have as a loaner or something, so then the community can see it in action in our parks.
Great.
Thank you.
These people are just so damn dumb. Parks and Rec and environmental sustainability are like the two most frustrating committees that there are because they're all a bunch of hypocrites. All right? And I hate to break it to all of you, and I'm going to get clipped like crazy on this, but it's the truth. Depending on the size of somebody, that means they're using more resources than somebody that's, say, I don't know, half the size of them. So they're automatically adding to the pollution in the air. They need to take their own advice.
Counselor Brown.
Sorry, one final thing I forgot. Councilor Carlino's comment earlier made me think of this. very grateful for the warming centers, cooling centers. As we all know, we're in a housing crisis in Indianapolis right now. I think CICF said that we're short 115,000 units of affordable housing, and so homelessness is likely to continue to be a problem while we get that addressed. I did just want to go on record and say, I'd heard through the grapevine that there was some thought about putting what I call hostile architecture in parks, including benches that you can't lay down on, for example. Things like that.
Based.
And I would just really strongly encourage us not to go down that route.
Shut up.
Through the grapevine, not accusing anyone of anything. I'm hoping it was a misunderstanding. But as we try to solve that crisis, I think that we have to be as humane as possible. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you all. Director, thank you so much for the presentation. Did you guys want to give an update, or did we kind of include that as far as Cranard, or was that sort of included in that? It was on the itinerary, but I know they're doing a tour, but they can do that once the committee's over with.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Colleagues, I know this is new to many of you. One of my frustrations on the council is there's never opportunity just to have open conversation amongst us. There's open door policies and laws and things of that nature that seem to prevent some of that. So with the itinerary being light, I wanted to give that as an opportunity. Now, I want to be really clear. This is not a fest for you all to have all your district complaints. I could ask that you continue those conversations with Director Boyd offline and with her staff. This is for us to talk about maybe ideas, some of the things that you've all mentioned already, as a matter of fact, things that concern you or are important to you, or things that may be happening, like Oasis centers. I just saw one while I was in Phoenix. I don't think we have any here. I think that's a really neat idea, and I think their Parks Department runs that. Things that we can maybe give to our parks leadership and start to drive some of those conversations. So that's what I mean by open parks. Parks open issue discussions. So I apologize for not having better communicated. I'm a little bit behind this entire week since everything was delayed on Monday, flying. But nonetheless, that's what I mean. So again, I want to be really clear. Please don't abuse this privilege and make me regret it and probably get yelled at by leadership. I think there's lots of people. But one of my things as a chair and as a counselor is to be transparent, to be open, to have public conversations, and to let our constituents know that we're doing more than just having conversations about what shows up on these agenda items, because I know that we all have lots of conversations behind the doors. So that's what that is. And before I open that up real quick, I did want to just thank you, Director Boyd, and your staff. The last couple of weeks, you've had a lot of interaction over some other issues, and Don Colin's been great in his responses. Andre's been great in his responses. Caroline, I'm working with her and her communication. So I'm really appreciative. We all know that Parks is underfunded. And everything I say and do is not enough. It just can't be. Until the money starts following behind us and what we say and talk, it's just not enough. But I really am appreciative and grateful. The leadership here at Cranard has been wonderful. These are very good people, very, very, very invested in these communities. And the individuals who work for our Parks Department care so much. And it's just, I cannot praise them enough. So. Colleagues, I just wanted to open it up. If anybody has any thoughts? Councilor
Well, yes, if we're giving out praise too. I don't know if he left already. Is Lieutenant Brent Kittner still here? Hi. Brent, can you just stand up?
I didn't see him walk in.
And I don't know if you want to speak at all, sir. I don't know what this format is, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the lieutenant and to all of the park rangers in the division that he represents. Thank you so very much.
And on that topic, yeah, so say that again. Go ahead and say it out loud.
It'd be nice, many people don't even know we have a park rangers department. It'd be nice to maybe explain and come up to the mic and make a public record of how many officers we have.
You think that anybody, this guy probably doesn't want to be speaking. Ranger Smith.
Yep. And that's not today, Lieutenant Kittner. You're asking for a future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's for you to prepare for. We're not putting you on the spot. And along those lines, I do, as I've told you, we're going to be doing our meetings outside. So we're finalizing that scheduling. Caroline and Kim have been amazing trying to deal with me as we finalize the schedule. On that note, Holiday Park, we will be meeting there on April 11th. So note that the
Great,
next
yep.
committee meeting will be at
We're
Holiday
gonna talk
Park
about that,
on
by
April
the way.
11th. But we are going to be doing one at the Park Rangers Station sometime this year. So we're going to have one there at their facility. I'm looking forward to you all engaging with our park rangers, getting to know them. They are very, 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 very valuable asset to our parks and to our city as a whole. Any other comments, thoughts? One thing that, go ahead.
Touch me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I brought this up at our last Parks Committee meeting, but one thing that I'm going to continue to harp on until we fix it is, when we talk about the parks being underfunded, we compare our Parks Department funding per citizen to other cities. Well, a lot of those other cities have the maintenance budgets and all that under the Parks Department. They don't have it under their public works budget. And I don't think it's fair to the city. I don't think it's fair to you guys and the parks team when a lot of us go to the Parks Department when we have issues with our parks, because we would expect the Parks Department to be able to fix issues within the parks. But it turns out that a lot of that money is under the Department of Public Works. And I get that it may have made sense in theory at the time when we shifted that funding probably over 10 years ago. But, the way I look at it now, it's kind of like we put the athletic director in charge of making sure the band's instruments are all up to date. I mean, the athletic director wants the best for the school, but they're going to have other priorities. And I think you have the same thing here when, we should have all these different budgets siloed off into each individual department, but we don't have that for the Parks Department. So I think that's something this committee really needs to look at this year, especially as we go into the budget cycle, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that the Parks Department is responsible for what goes on in the parks.
That would take a
agree with
couple
you a lot on that,
years.
Counselor. I think that's a really good comment.
I will just offer that while the grounds maintenance is in DPW's jurisdiction, there is a lot of close communication, and it's getting better. Director Herget and I meet monthly. We're officially, but we talk a lot more than that. And then we've got other meetings with Lacey Johnson and other folks, and just really trying to coordinate weekly meetings with some of the teams. So we know we're one city, although we might be different agencies.
Director, I know there's probably some conversations and communications going on with Director Herget. I've brought that issue up to him as well. That might be something that we look at as far as presenting to get some clarity, understanding how the operation's working, moving. I think the more educated we are, the better we can try to figure out and say, this is what's not working, but we understand it, but we need to move in direction A, B, C to do that. Am I mistaken? Is that the 7 million that, approximate 7
I believe
million
it's
that's
7.8 million.
that's transferred
That's the
from
charge back.
charge back to them? Okay. And that pays for their operations in support of the parks?
Yes.
Okay. Does that, Eagle Creek Park, though, and all their staff is separate, right? That's within Parks budget?
No, there's also chargeback that
Okay.
covers that as well. And Angie, I don't know if you want to, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Hi, Angie. Join the party. Pull a chair up.
Yeah.
Who's here? Okay, who's here? Is it just parks people, and then probably people who work for? Okay, so there's probably no like civilians, right? That have attended this thing. So I think that'll take like multiple years for them to figure it out, because they'll have to go line item by line item of what DPW does and what Parks and Rec does. The reason why I think they do it that way is because Parks and Rec doesn't have their own like maintenance crew. I'm guessing, I'm just guessing that it's all done through DPW, because DPW pretty much does everything between snow removal, cleaning up branches, cleaning up stormwater drains, and it's just easier for them to be like the fix-it-all people. And if then Parks and Rec calls them up, we need this done, and blank, and that's why the That's why the maintenance budget isn't really there. It's done through DPW. If I had to guess, anyway, that would be my
I don't want
assumption.
us to be all serious and stuffy. We're friends, we're family, we're all here, as you just said, one city. So it's just about trying to make things better and improve things and have honest conversations.
So if the staff you're referring to are recreation staff, they're in our budget. If they are maintenance staff,
Yep.
they are in the DPW budget.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
I know one of the open things that I wanted to talk about or just kind of express was that sort of understanding, what is the grand plan for our parks for the city of Indianapolis? What's the 50-year plan, the 25, the 10? Also, additional methods of revenue sources to support them. Because we all know that parks is just woefully underfunded. And it's I don't even want to say it because it's much bigger than an asset to the city. But it's a preventative thing as well for our youth and giving them something to do. I just came back from my childhood home that I lived at for 7 years in Mesa, Arizona. And as we were driving, there were just parallel parks everywhere off the streets, like trails running through them, all the connectivity. And it was amazing to me how much further along, I guess, they are than the city of Indianapolis. But we can talk about that another day.
You want to know why? Because things are way more expensive out there. Here, I actually decided to look this up while he was talking. The average home price in Indy is $224,000. The average home in Phoenix, actually, I'm going to say Phoenix is $430,000. Yeah, it's the same. It's still 449. That's why. So they have all this extra money. They also have a little bit more people than we are, 1.6 million compared to just under a million for us. So they have a lot more money to deal with. But remember what, you might be thinking like, oh, Mesa's so great. I don't. Phoenix has like prostitution problems way worse than we do. They have way more illegals than we do. Phoenix is a giant mess over there compared to Indy. If I had to pick one or the other, it would definitely be Indy. For the things that I just talked about.
Well, if you look at
And if you don't like it, move to Arizona. It's that simple.
the comprehensive plan, you'll see, it's in level of service chapter 5. There's a great summary of kind of where we need to be as a park system. So I just encourage you to take a look at that
On the comprehensive plan?
in the comprehensive plan. Yeah.
Could we get something for a future meeting, an update on where we're at with the Greenways Master Plan for the city? What's been completed? What are the next priorities? We might actually be in the process of updating it right now.
I think so. Andre, do you
I think
have?
we are.
Come on, Andre, pull a chair up.
You might want to stay in.
20
Andre Denman, principal planner for the city, former Greenways manager. The current master plan, which expires in 2024, is being updated by DPW. So DPW is now also over the development and planning of Greenways. And so me and Don Colvin, being kind of the uncles emeritus of Greenways and having all the knowledge, along with Julie Jacob, who actually helped start Greenways as well when she was formerly with the city, Julie Wiley at that time, have been kind of resources for DPW. So even though Greenways is now in DPW, they lean heavily on Don and myself, and also Julie. And so, because most of the Greenways either connect to a park or some nature, so, and people still consider them green space, and as the director said, one city, so.
Yeah, that might be interesting to maybe see if we can have a joint, have DPW attend and give the Parks Committee an update, to your point, since they do so often connect with our parks. Councilor Carlino?
No, I love that idea, Chairman. I know Councilor McCormick and I are probably the only two on this committee currently who were on both parks and DPW the last 4 years, and that conversation has been long overdue, so I'm glad that you suggested that. I would say, going back to your earlier comments though, about, having essentially 2 forestry divisions or, 2 mowing crews, to this, to that, and thinking about what does equipment sharing across the city look like if we already have trails maintenance crews with weed whackers and the other apparatus going through. They've already got the equipment out here, and then also I think storage of that equipment, maintenance of that equipment happening in silos across the city doesn't necessarily make sense, and I think we would have to probably invest in some capital, infrastructure for storage, maintenance barns, pole barns, and things like that, and then of course run the risk of security, theft and things like that. So I think that some of the consolidation is the reason why we have that. And with the expanded greenways system, I think we have a conversation about improving these things and investing in building out the way that we maintain these spaces. Because as we grow them, we're gonna need more workers, more equipment. And I know we burned through, I think, a lot of power tools and chainsaws. All kinds of stuff. So the forestry, shout out forestry. They are amazing. They do great work in the middle of storms and all kinds of dangerous situations. But I think I'm actually on the other side of the token, because I think we can do better keeping it consolidated now that we have trails. Yeah.
And to tag on to that, I guess I didn't realize, since I am on Public Works, that there are many of you up here and out there that don't necessarily have all the information that we have learned, the crossover that happens, and how, we've heard about it, but from both sides. So I think bringing DPW in to do a presentation, that's a fabulous idea. And I am excited to go to the Park Rangers facility. And I just appreciate you open up the floor for us to have a conversation about what we can do to improve things, because we do have restrictions. We can't get together on a Tuesday night and have this conversation, because there's open door laws that we have to follow. And we have these conversations, but it's one-on-one here and then one-on-one there, and this actually can end up being more efficient as far as our conversations go in the brainstorming. So I like that idea. I'm a talker though, so Mr. Chairman. So I guess I'd say, you probably want to give me a time limit on what time you want to get out of here when these things happen, right?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Director Boyd, is there any audit mechanism on a year-by-year basis to monitor or check that you feel you're getting $7.8 million worth of support from DPW? Because from just the perception, many, many times I go to my park, Som Park, and the grass is 2.5, 3 feet tall. And there's trash all over the place. I get complaints all the time. And I call DPW, not much happens. So it's disappointing that they take the responsibility but aren't always fulfilling their obligation. So, and I know I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I would just encourage you to make sure, and if you're not discharged back, $7.8 million is a lot of money. And it goes back to the point of Councilor Carlino as well. I understand the inefficiency of maybe duplication of staff and materials and barns and storage and things like that. But at the same time, parks needs to be emphasized, and it needs to be a priority, and it's not in DPW.
I disagree, and I say that I just had Eagle Creek in my council district recently, and the levee over, and the dam, it's about to be repaired.
Right.
Lily Lake leaking and rebuilding of roads. I mean, you know how many, I don't know, actually, now that I say it out loud, how many miles of roads are just in Eagle Creek Park alone, and that comes out of the DPW budget. So I just have to give kudos to DPW. They do a lot with a little, and it's underfunded, as Councilor Bain knows.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing a lot of pointing tonight, but I'm on the corner, so I don't know.
Sure.
But he makes a good point every year about DPW funding, and it actually does touch the asphalt and the pavement and all those things that are in our parks too. So you make a valid point, but I do think they do a darn good job.
And I know they are, if anybody out there is looking for jobs, DPW is hiring. I know Parks is too. But part of the reason that, like, that we might have this delay is they set their priorities and what fire is in first, right?
Well, Lily
And-
Lake was like $5 million, and somebody quote me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong, like, Lily Lake was $5 million on its own in the DPW budget to repair, and that's inside of Eagle Creek Park.
Okay.
So
That's a big chunk of that
So I
7 million
think
you were
that-
just
yeah.
referring to.
My district.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying.
I'm worried about my district.
Yeah, Carlino.
More attention.
Then we can put it in the budget. Let's
Okay.
have that.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yeah,
The
Boots,
other quick
show her what the
question
hell
I
is
had
up.
was I think it would behoove all of us to, like, you went to Phoenix and saw what was going on. I've got relatives in Portland,
Portland
and they have
sucks.
an incredible park system, and their program
Has a wonderful park system. Then when you go over there, there's nothing but crackheads and homeless people shooting up. Great. It's so great, though.
book is almost like a phone book. A couple hundred pages of programming. So I think it would help maybe our Parks Department to share ideas. And if I've got copies of, for example, the Portland catalog from last summer that I'd be glad to share, just as ideas, brainstorming. I mean, it's amazing when you look through what other cities offer through parks. It really surprises you.
I've made a sort of quiet suggestion to Julie with the Arts Council about maybe even taking trips with counselors to some nearby cities, Cincinnati, Columbus, things like that, to let us see some of the programming and things they're doing, because the funding for the arts is much higher than it is here. And I think I see Rusty Carr sitting over there with the Parks Alliance. He's always willing to go hang out with some counselors.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and use taxpayer money so they can go to a different city and see how they do it over there. Great.
Love to take you to Portland maybe one day.
On the
So maybe there's some
taxpayers' dime.
future collaborations in that capacity that we could do and continue to grow. Because I think that is exactly what I'm talking about with this, is to sort of take, and hopefully, and I told someone this, I feel like this committee is, me being the new kid on the block, I think, on this committee, other than the new counselors, you guys have got some experience on here. Everyone, I think, authentically cares about parks. You're not on this committee because you just need to be on a committee. You're on it because it's something
I
you
can
care
think of
about.
3 people.
So it's bringing that synergy, bringing those ideas to the table, and going there. So I'm going to do 3 more, and then we're going to wrap up. So it's going to go Bain, Councilor Delaney, and then we'll end with Councilor Brown.
I'm always up for traveling.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to piggyback off of a lot of what Councilor Boots just said, because I feel the same way. I don't think we can point to the city's largest flagship park. Like, if Eagle Creek Park was in my district, I'd probably think everything's going great too. But I'm talking about the parks that, people want to go 5 minutes after they get off work, take their kids there. I'm talking about Carson Park, talking about Southwest Way Park, Bluff Park, all these parks that are in my district that I don't think get enough attention. You go and look at these fences that these kids are playing softball at, and they lean up against a fence, and the fence collapses, and they get cut, and they have to get rushed in an ambulance to Riley,
very
which happened
specific.
last year at Carson Park.
Oh,
And
shit.
all that maintenance is under DPW. It's not under the Parks Department. And again, I'll just emphasize, when you look at the departments within the city of Indianapolis that would have the most burden for our Parks Department, or for the parks in Indianapolis, it would be the Parks Department. And, I understand consolidation can be a good thing sometimes, but I would view it
Who's
more as a
talking in
takeover,
the
because it's not a
background?
consolidation. You had Indy Parks, you had Department of Public Works, and we just took money and put it under Department of Public Works. So it was more of a takeover than it was a consolidation. And then the last thing that I want to point out was when we were talking about planning and everything, and looking at what master plans are for our Parks Department, there's a lot of really good plans out there, such as extending the White River Trail down to Southwest Way Park. I think that would be incredible and something that I would use weekly. And I know you'd have hundreds of other people on the Southwest side that would use that all the time. But when we look at these master plans, what we don't see are funding mechanisms to make it happen.
Correct.
So I think, these are things that I can even do, all the time when I'm planning about what I want the Southwest side of Indianapolis to look like. But the hard part is when you also have to come up with a plan with that on how to make it happen. So if we could just also be cognizant of that whenever we're coming up with master plans, is also including a way to make it happen, such as like right now, I know there's a master plan that shows an aquatic center and community center at Southwest Way Park. And there is no current funding mechanism to make that happen. But yet the public looks at that and it's like, well, why isn't the city of Indianapolis delivering on this aquatic center? It's on this document right here that says the master plan for Southwest Way Park. And I have to tell them, well, right now, there's currently no plan for that to happen.
Everything costs something.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. I think that is in part some of the reason for the conversations. I'm sorry, I called you Councilor Brown. Councilor Bain. Is because of the fiscal aging of the city of Indianapolis. I think it's going to take some conversations that we're going to have about different funding mechanisms and sources to see that through. And I agree with you. I would love to be on the White River Trail all the way, the Wapahani Trail all the way down to Southwest Way Park. Councilor Delaney?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the big issues on the north side is trails, as we were talking about it, and connectivity between our parks, connectivity between trails. And I know that there's a lack of that in the city. And so I'm glad that you brought it up in terms of DPW is in charge of our trails, because I think that there's a disconnect there as well with my constituents and not understanding that DPW oversees it. But it makes sense when you think about it, because we're talking about connectivity. Now, the trail isn't just a trail anymore. You know, the Monon isn't just the Monon that it was 30 years ago, right? We are starting to see some connectivity, but we're talking about decades now. So it's been a really slow growth there. And so I didn't know, I think one, it's a great idea that we have brought up the idea about bringing DPW here to talk about it. But I didn't know if I wanted to, one, share that is a concern on the north side, not only from just, wouldn't it be nice to have, but there are safety concerns in this city. I know you're aware of it, but I just want to make sure that folks at home understand that, you know, our bicyclists, our pedestrians are afraid to walk on our streets. They shouldn't be there.
Look at him. He's going to town.
You know, the bicyclists should, but pedestrians in ditches along the side, like, they're just dangerous.
He's going to
There's
overdrive,
trash,
boys.
Water. There aren't good ways to get from point A to point B. And folks in my district live on the border with Carmel, Indiana, that has really great trails. I understand they have completely different funding, but
they're also majorly in debt.
Is really black and white up on our area of the city, and so I just wanted to make that known that that's something that is really important, not just from wouldn't it be nice to have this connectivity, but also from a safety standpoint as our folks are trying to get from point A to point B.
I normally use a car because I'm not going to be taking a bicycle to get groceries. I'm sorry, Brianne. You must have a ton of time on your hands to even be thinking about that.
Councilor Brown?
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I co-sign everything you just said, Councilor Delaney, so thank you. So I had this idea. I've gotten several complaints in the last week or two from constituents about different parks activities that they didn't feel in the loop about. And I'm 100% sure that you are fulfilling every legal responsibility and then some in terms of communication.
Responsibility.
But one thought I had, District 13 has some really strong neighborhood associations, which can be a blessing and a curse for a counselor, because every evening there's at least 2 of them meeting, and so I have to pick favorites and run around town. But I wonder if we could deploy resources to neighborhood associations and or employ local youth. Because as I found out running for office, there's nothing as effective as just knocking on people's doors to tell them what's going on, or even knocking on doors and dropping off a flyer, right, to get people to realize, oh, a human being was here. So I wonder if we could encourage kind of neighborhood connectivity while also letting people feel more in the loop about what's going on in their local parks, especially since we're trying to hire people and it's so difficult to hire permanent employees. Maybe just make it a project-based. You get a bonus for the number of people who show up to the public meeting or something like that.
Yeah, that's not going to be weaponized at all.
I just think there could be cool ways to help public safety by putting money in the hands of youth or in neighbors, and also encourage people to see the public park as that third place outside of home and work, and really get to know each other, since we're all feeling so isolated in like the post-COVID world. So that's all.
You're feeling isolated in the post-COVID world. You know who's having a hard time? Introverts, that's all. Nothing's stopping them from going outside.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Thank you, Councilor Brown. Thank you, everybody. We're going to wrap up tonight's committee meeting. Remember, April 11th, that's the next meeting. It's going to be at Holiday Park. I think that's Councilor Delaney's district, so we're going to come up and say hello.
Please join us.
We're going to talk
A
about
couple
that.
of things. Indy, go to, lost my thing here. Go to parks.indy.gov for summer hiring. Also for the, oh gosh, we got the summer day camp.
camps.
We've got a lot of things going on. So again, going to parks.indy.gov. And counselors, your homework. Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 5. Read it and be ready to talk about it.
Could we get a link sent to us so it's easily accessible? Could you send us a link to that real quick? Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further business, we are done for the evening. Thank you all.
Dumb. First off, Brown's a dope. And look, he's on his phone already. All right. Look, he's not. Hey, remember him talking about Freeman on his phone? What's he doing right now on his phone? Of course, and when I was at the city council meeting on Monday, he was doing the same thing. He was just jabbing away. But that story's for another time. And basically, what he wants to do is hire people to give flyers to people to let them know what's going on at their public park. Well, guess what, Brown? You're a city councilor, so figure it out. Don't use tax-paying resources for anything like that. So, very interesting. I said this last time, terrible idea to be going to a park location for the meeting. It wasn't live. I had to wait almost 24 hours for the video to come out. And, what's stopping them from editing it? Nothing. So that tells me that Jared Evans does not care about transparency. As usual, Democrats do not care about transparency. It's a good idea on paper, but it doesn't work. Why? For two reasons. One was there's lack of transparency with the live video. It can be edited. And two, now you're forcing the city councilors to travel outside of the city county building to different parts of Marion County that it might be very far. So they have a meeting at Holiday Park. And I checked everybody that is at this meeting right now because there are 3 people that are missing from the Parks and Rec Committee. Paul Anai, Mike Dilk, and Frank Mascari. So it's not too bad because Bain, Evans, McCormick, Carlino all are on like the west side or southwest side. Bain is probably like 10 minutes from Granite Park. Same thing within Evans, Carlino, and McCormick. So I checked. All right. So Holiday Park is like right next door to Breanne Delaney over here. And she is 7 minutes from from Holiday Park. Everybody else is just the people that are here are between 20 and 30 minutes away. Now, if the meeting, like it's supposed to, is going to happen at the city county building, you're only talking about at the very most. And by the way, I did this at 8 o'clock at night. So it's really good traffic out right now. It is between 17 minutes and 23 minutes. Now, you might not think that's a big deal, right? But we don't know what time they're getting out. That might be rush hour. So now you're adding even more time. And why is this so important? You're wondering, Whitty, why are you throwing such a big deal about this? And here's why. Jared Evans does not have a family to take care of. He is single, he lives with his parents, and I'm pretty sure he only has a part-time job, if no job at all. Josh Bain has a kid and a family. I don't think Dan Boots has a family. McCormick has children. Carlino is newly divorced, so she's kind of out of the equation. I think Breanne has children, but Brown definitely has no children. And who knows what that home life is like. Maybe he doesn't want to be, but needless to say, Jared Evans is kind of screwing everybody's family lives over because once they leave Holiday Park, now they have to travel anywhere from 20 minutes to 32 minutes. Like Josh Bain has to travel 32 minutes. Evans has to do a half an hour at the very minimum. Now, if we're talking about Paul Anay, Mike Dilk, and Mascari, So this was very interesting. Frank Mascari lives like 5 minutes from the city county building. Now, if you were to go to the Holiday Park meeting next month, it'll be 23. Mike Dilk, 15 minutes from the city county building, 30 minutes from Holiday Park. Paul N.A., 18 minutes from the city county building, 33 minutes from Holiday Park. Everybody has something to do, all right? This is a part-time job, and not everybody wants to travel very far for a Parks and Rec meeting when for since the beginning of all these meetings, everything has probably always been at the city county building. Everybody's used to it. The parking, the traffic, getting into the building, everything has repetition, everything is ready to go, and you get to see it live. So they can't do any kind of editing with it. I right from the I'm gonna keep harping on this, but Jared Evans, if you're watching this right now, scumbag move. Vop Osley, you need to remove him from chair because this is just going to screw everything up. And as far as I know, you've had now two dumb things that you've done this year. First off, not getting rid of Jesse Brown, and two, having Jared Evans as the chair of the Parks and Rec meeting committee. You're an 0-2, bud. You're an 0-2 Vop. Samuel Osley, because that's his real name, not Vop. Lying. Straight up liar, liar Vop. So that's all I got for now. Expect me to harp on this every time that the Parks and Rec committee meeting happens. Every single time. But until next time.